Hi, this is Daniel Faber from OrbitFab. This is March 20th, 2020. Just wanted to say a few words for the Supercluster conference. Starting, I guess, with what I'm doing. 25 years ago, I decided in my first year of undergraduate university that I'd like to do something useful for the world. And when I looked at things, I realized that addressing existential risks was probably the most useful thing I could work on. I also wanted to do something interesting for my career. And with those two things in mind, I decided that getting people off this rock would be both useful and interesting. So I've spent the last 25 years trying to create permanent jobs in Earth orbit. Of course, how does one approach that became the immediate question. And so I was doing an engineering degree at university, and I managed to start building a satellite in my spare time, an amateur radio satellite, and then talked my way into building some spacecraft, built about 12 satellites around the world, different companies. But also, because I was thinking, how do we make permanent jobs? How do we make this business case close? I kept thinking about how to make companies, how to set up a company that could do that. So the first company that I set up was doing instrumentation for the mining industry. My list of industries that could pay for the first permanent job in orbit was tourism and mining, and that was it. So my first company, instrumentation for the terrestrial mining industry, that ran into the global financial crisis, which was unfortunate. I also did some work and made some investments in nuclear fusion, thinking of how that might help long term. My second company was doing high-speed internet for Antarctica. What I really wanted was a small transponder that we could use on deep space probes that didn't exist. And we built the first Ka-band transponder for a CubeSat. That's been commercialized now in a couple of companies here in California. After that, I did some work with CubeSats, and then we set up Deep Space Industries, where we had the big, hairy, audacious goal of mining an asteroid, but our real product was small thrusters to move satellites around in orbit. So we made a business out of that. It was acquired just over a year ago by Bradford, a European thruster company. And by building those small thrusters, the goal was to get satellites addicted to the fuels that one day we could mine from an asteroid. So water and hydrocarbons, and we had a line of thrusters to do that. Now at OrbitFab, we're building a supply chain for propellant on orbit. And that's, of course, to create a not only to, it's a good business. There's a lot of inefficiencies we can do, extending the life of satellites and the like. But also, it's creating a market for propellant on orbit. One day we'll be able to place a purchase order with an asteroid mining company. So all of these things that I've done sort of link together in ways that are addressing a vision, which frankly is something that I expected would take decades. And so it's been a really exciting experience. Some things that I've seen that have changed in the past 25 years, I guess. So when I started out, there only really one type of entrepreneurial business model, which was give me $1 billion and I will save the world. And that doesn't work. What I've seen in the last, even the last few years, it's changed a lot. But over the last decade or so, there's been a bit of a SpaceX effect. So the investors are now much more interested. They're much more educated. But also the entrepreneurs are much more savvy. There's much better quality business plans and much more mature thinking about how to build a business. So that's been really encouraging. OrbitFab, of course, being the gas stations in space, we want to see this move from a space economy to an economy in space, where we're trading materials, we're exchanging goods, we're manufacturing things. Things are being done in space to be used in space. It's interesting to think, once this infrastructure exists, what people will do with it. It's a bit like the internet. You have no idea at the beginning what it's going to be used for, but there's a lot of potential. And so I'd like to invite people who are smarter than me, people who have great ideas, people who have crazy ideas, to come and talk to people in this industry about how they might do those things in space, how they might make these a reality, how they might generate revenue. So if you need a supply of materials in orbit, if you need propellant or anything else, of course, come and talk to me and come and talk to OrbitFab. Anyway, good luck. It's been a fun journey so far, and it's great to have you in the space industry.